So, first of all, thank you to all the organizers of this page, Comrade, for inviting me to speak on issues of the student during this pandemic, during this time of lockdown, and how what student community has been facing in this country at this moment. And prior to this, after this, what will be the issues of student community? So, as you all know at this moment that this is a very crisis situation that is going on. Like earlier, when it started with the lockdown period, the people were hoping that maybe the lockdown period will be able to somewhat bring down the number of COVID cases to maybe like control. And bring down the COVID cases. But at this moment, we are seeing that as the easing out of lockdown is happening, number of cases are increasing. There has been like, though the ICMR is not accepting the fact, but then we see that there has been uh, like like the rates of in people affected by COVID has been increasing. Like in last 10 days, we have seen more 1 lakh people been affected by COVID. So they are not accepting that there is still any kind of community transmission, but like many health professionals have been giving a signal that already community transmission has started. Now, the major problem in this whole period, it's more than 60 days we have been in lockdown, and in this whole period has been that the kind of misinformation and the kind of not preparedness that we saw on the part on the behalf of the government. We saw a lockdown which was declared within 4 hours without any preparedness, without telling people, without telling families that what they will do, where they will go, what will happen if there is a contamination. Like they just gave some guidelines, those guidelines which were not even easily accessible to all. People couldn't read through those long guidelines, and except for washing your hands or like doing using mask, there was not much guidelines that was given to you more than that. Like in the sense, people would say what guidelines more, guidelines like if there is a daily wage earner, if there are students, what should they do? Where should they go? If they are daily wage earners, from where will they earn? Because when we saw that the lockdown is happening, it was not happening because people of this country uh, wanted it, but we understood that there is a crisis happening due to COVID, and every other country is also going through a lockdown. But we also expected that the government will ensure that along with lockdown, they will do they will take up every effort possible to ensure that the contamination and the containing of COVID reduces. They will help out the citizens of this country during this times of lockdown. But what we saw in the last 60 days have been a crisis. I wouldn't say that the crisis has loomed only now, but a broken system has been exposed. Like how broke our health infrastructure was, how broke our economic system was, that it couldn't support the migrant workers. Migrant workers died on their ways to come back home. They wanted to return back home. And in all these, we have seen certain countries faring so well, and the Indian state of Kerala. We have seen how Kerala has shown us a model within our country. Like many people might be saying that why like other countries have been doing quite well, like Vietnam and all. But before going to other countries, we have seen how Kerala has shown us a model that within uh, a less infrastructural capacity or low key budget, how do we ensure that it's a people centric way to handle any health crisis or any crisis and pandemic. uh, Also, now directly I will go to the student issues, because the main topic at this moment is what are the students facing and the student community. Now, the thing is, why did I say this as a precursor or a background before telling students issues? Because according to me, as we have seen, that students are not like a different community as a whole. They are all part and parcel of within the society that we live in. Like we being students are also, we have families, we are within families, staying in a society, staying in this country in different states. So students also have been equally affected like any of other individuals in this whole pandemic situation. And what have been the problems, what has been initiatives of left progressive organizations is everything that I will be talking out in a brief, as you all would know, but then just reiterating this, and then we'll share that what are the challenges that we see in the near future. Now, in the whole COVID period, the major challenge was that many of the students were not receiving, like the ones who are supposed to get their midday meals, the students who are supposed to get some amount of basic nutrition from the schools. That is the policy that they get. A lot of marginalized students who go to school because they get both education and also food. Suddenly, stopping them to go to school, obviously we understand the fact that contamination would have increased, because of which they want government officials wanted to close down school, but they didn't make a plan B, that if students don't come to school, then where are they going to get the midday meal? So many of the families which were poor, which were marginalized, which were not economically well, and before used to send their children to school so that they could get a meal or proper support, they were suddenly distressed that where are they going to get food from the next day for their children? Where are they going to get all the basic minimum necessities for their child in their family? And many Indian households, we have seen there is not there is not one children, two children. Sometimes we have seen two, three children in one family, and it had been difficult for those families to cope up with such a situation. Secondly, because of nutritional value decreasing in child, there was also some reports in between coming that there was higher rate and chances of children who were not getting food properly, their immune system would go weak. And we everyone know that the medical association and the WHO has been continuously saying that COVID is such kind of virus which will affect the immune system more. So, in case of children who are the most vulnerable community, for them it was very important during this time to get ample amount of nutrition, to get ample amount of food and nutrition, so that they don't get affected by this virus immediately, and they can fight against this virus, and their immune system can fight against this. So, no kind of framework was thought about that. Uh, Obviously, again, Kerala had set up an example by ensuring that midday meal reaches to every house. They also ensured that because cooked midday meal wouldn't be possible at a point of time, what they did is they started sending weekly rations to homes, to every home, so that no children remains like hungry. Now, there is no problem in houses where they are not having basic minimum income, and they're not able to have any income during this time. They made sure that at least ration reaches to those homes, basic rice and whatever needed, sugar, milk powder, and everything, so that nobody has issues. No, none of the children faces problem with this issue. This has been a very important step. So this is one of the problems that this lockdown, like majorly the youth, young children. Second of all, colleges were closed, university were closed. In this whole 60 days, you and I, like every student, everyone, we would remember that we hardly saw our education minister live or doing press conference every day to ensure that he, as you know, Dr. Ramesh Pokhriyal, who is our education minister, he didn't come in front of us doing press conference, or even if giving regulations that what should students do. Universities were shut down, schools and colleges were shut down. Many students exams, they were giving board exams, and the board exams had to be stopped halfway. So students were clueless at what is happening, what not happening. We didn't know like whether we will be able to go back to colleges, whether we will be able to give back our impending examinations, what is going to happen to us. Nobody knew. All the students still are in that situation where they don't know what to be done, what has to be done. Till now, the Ministry of Education is saying that the schools will and colleges will not open in um, July. It might open from August. So the terminating students, the students who are in their final year or has a job to be joined maybe from August and all, they are all in a vague situation where they don't know what to be done. And that is a huge crisis for a student, because it was not the student's fault that he, she, or anyone, they couldn't finish their semester in a proper way, or they couldn't give the sit for the examination. A pandemic was there, the government decided to go for a lockdown, and the government should have thought. about it. And many are coming and saying me the government didn't get enough time to think. But this is a complete factual error, factual lie that the government is trying to promote. Because the first COVID case happened in Kerala, which was in the month of January end. So if we see that the whole central government, which is just putting like trying to play safe by saying that they didn't have enough idea. If we see the health minister of Kerala, KK Shelja, told in one of her interviews that she had inquired one of her friends who used to stay abroad in the early month of mid of January, and asked that friend whether Indians could get affected by COVID. And that time, her friend had responded in a positive, like in a positive note, in the sense that the friend had told KK Shelja that yes, even India can get affected due to COVID. And that is exactly when the Indian state of Kerala started their preparations from the month of January. And we saw in January the first case happened in Kerala. So the central government was well aware that they could make the Indian people more aware. But what the central government did is they were just sitting, uh, just making mockery of a dangerous epidemic like this, a pandemic like this. Many of the BJP leaders going and making open statements saying that the COVID is like a flu and nothing much is going to happen. People, it's the opposition which is creating a panic and whatnot. Let's not go deeper into this. But that exactly points out that how the central government was not prepared. And that is why exactly in the month of March, when they were not able to hide any more details, they could see that the number of COVID cases are increasing and now they have no other option. What they started doing is just declared a national lockdown, a great lockdown, a harsh lockdown where they didn't know what to do, but a harsh lockdown where they stopped, they just made a curfew like situation in a country without giving people any help. At the same time, the students in this whole period is, as their families are going through a financial crisis, obviously it is impacting the student community. What is exactly happening is the students who had to migrate, like many of the students in our country, we know that had to migrate from their states, home states, to different parts of this country for their higher education. Like a lot of people of Kerala would be studying in Delhi, in Bangalore. A lot of people from Bengal, we have been studying in Delhi, and a lot more places. Now, in the mid of March, what happened that the university, because the government decided for a lockdown, the university said that we are shutting down the universities and you have to travel back to your homes. Now, the problem started that first we requested the university administration that those students who want to stay back in the hostel because they don't want to travel and make their bodies fall in risk. Why? Because first of all, there were trains available, and trains available though in the mid of March was in such a condition where in one coach there were hundreds of people. There was no physical distancing at that moment, and there was also panic within the people of this country to go back to their homes, return back to their homes. In that situation, just to push students towards more to get infected was a wrong decision. What also was a problem, that many students didn't have financial support. Now, because trains were not available, many students didn't have trains available. So what they did do, they were searching for flight tickets, but flight tickets were so costly that they had no other option but to stay back in the university because they didn't have any financial help. Thirdly, another problem was that many of these students chose to stay back at the university because they felt that in case they carry, while traveling back home in the train, in case they get infected from somebody and they become COVID positive, many of their family members, they back home, their parents are elderly, they have grandparents, and many students feared that if they go back with COVID positive, he or she might recover, but they might lead problem for their family, or their grandparents might not be able to fight against a pandemic with such a low immune system, because already, as reports were coming from WHO, the most affected people were the elderly people at that time, because they had a low immune system. So in all these things, to just to push students towards their home because the universities and the ministry didn't want to take responsibility, it was a very bad decision. And also, the government should have thought well before that how to ensure that the students are returning back home safely. Even if those students wanted to return, they didn't care. They just had to shut down the universities. Now, in the last 60 days, we have seen that many students who have gone back home, they have faced a huge crisis. Huge crisis, like many students would be asking me, what have been the crisis? The crisis, one has been obviously nutritional value. If their family members are not getting sufficient money, obviously that will affect their kind of living. And many students had to go back and start working with their family, because maybe their father or mother, who was the bread earner of their family, they have lost their jobs due to this pandemic, due to this lockdown. So many of these students had to go back and help, put a helping hand. And in all this also, it has happened that the government has not released any kind of financial support to students, so that any of the student doesn't get affected due this whole lockdown period. Now, also along with this, what as an important matter would be is of concern happened is, once the lockdown started, within a week there was 92,000 calls, SOS calls made for child helpline numbers, saying that like children who are staying back at their home are facing child abuse. So this is also one important concern, that women, women who have been staying back at their home are facing also abuse from their families, which is also making it difficult for them to stay back at home in different conditions. And that is why they were not able to reach out to any helpline, or maybe the kind of abuse they were facing, it was mentally distressing along with physical distress. So that has been a huge concern that the government didn't think of, that how they should ensure that none of the children in this in our households are affected or tortured, whether it's an or abused mentally or physically. Such concerns were not taken up. So these were very important things that the government didn't think about. And in all this, what came up was online mode of education. Now, this is a very important thing that we need to discuss, we need to talk, though I will be keeping it brief, as you all know much of this. But then what the government suddenly decided, that because the whole situation is going out of their hands and the cases are increasing, schools have to be kept closed. There was a continuous pressure that what to do about children and they are back at home. The government suddenly, in a fortnight, decided, okay, we will go in an online education, and online education will be a very good reform like Indian education. Now, to think that in a positive life is like, if we are sitting in very normal times and we want to just reform in online form of education, online ways of education that can add on to our education system, is a very like in a good thing. But online education is something that we have opposed to at this situation, at this moment. We are not against science and technology. We are not against technology. The problem at this moment, we know that there is a huge digital divide. Like, there are some students who have access to laptops, they have access to TVs, they have access to smartphones, and they can access online education that the students or the like, schools might be giving them. Now, on the other contrary part, there are students, which is the maximum percentage in this country, those who have not access to any digital gadgets, because of which they can access online form of education. Now, seeing that issue, how can a government in a night decide suddenly that the Indian education system will just be a reform, will go through a reform without even understanding the ground reality, which has been a huge mistake. So, in all this, why are these mistakes been done by the government? People, like, if we try to understand, It's because the government didn't ever think of a situation like this, because the government took it very lightly that a pandemic can be just handled by a lockdown of 60 days, when from the very initial days health professionals were saying that testing has to be increased. It has to be ensured that everyone most testing happens. People has to be like pointed out who have come. They have to be recognized who have come with COVID positive. We have to quarantine them properly. Quarantine centers have to be built. More quarantines. There should be more hospital beds, because the peak will increase in months. And today, what we see that in places like Mumbai, Delhi, in West Bengal, there has been increasing cases. There has been no hospital beds. People are dying before even going to hospital because they are not getting any bed. So this is a huge crisis, and this exposes our healthcare system. Now, obviously, digital learning has also put a huge pressure in students, like many students who don't have a financial background to now suddenly buy a smartphone or a laptop. They are feeling left out, like we have seen in Kerala. The like SFI, DYFI, and other progressive organizations have been helping together to ensure that there is something like they're doing a TV challenge and all, so that to ensure that in a particular colony or a nearby area, local area, they have a TV where all the students, those who don't have access to TV in their homes, can go and at least attend these trial classes that are happening. So at least a mechanism like that has been created, so that no student, at least if they don't have TVs in their home, any gadgets, they can at least go and somewhere sit, maintaining the physical distancing and everything. But in maximum part of this country, nothing of that sort has happened. Students are still sitting at back at their home. Universities like where I come from, JNU and all, they are pressurizing students for online examination, which is not even possible. The students have rejected it. Students have said by and large that only in a batch of 50 students, maybe 10 students just have access to proper internet. And we have seen it's not only about internet. You have to have electricity in this country. We know we don't have, many places don't have uninterrupted electricity. Many students, even if they have smartphone, they only have data packs, 1 GB data, and that 1 GB data in a whole day will get finished only in downloading one class. So in case in a family there are 2 3 children, so there will the parents have to buy them 2 3 kind of gadgets, so that at the same time these three of their children can attend classes. So these are huge practical problem, and I'm not even saying those problems like which might be too we have to go in depth. These are basic normal problems that you and I, if we discuss with anyone, we will get to know. And at this point, the government to discuss and say that let's just go for online education, online examination, it's like putting that the government, the infrastructure, the education system doesn't even care about student. It's just about the marks, it's about the exams. They just want to get it off. They don't care whether students are getting to eat. They don't care whether the students and their families are in a proper way. And all these things have, the most affected thing has been the students, the mental health of the students, that has been quite talked about, that how students are facing a huge pressure of mental health. They are facing mental health issues, but they don't know where to go, what has to be done. They don't know whom to look out for proper guidance. So these have been the major issues in the student community at by large, if we see. Now, seeing these challenges in the coming days, the major challenge also have been how, obviously, these are topics like with the student, obviously they are part of the student community itself, but how students in particular universities have been arrested in this during these times, in the name of protests, that dissenting voices, they have raised voices against this government, so they have been arrested during these times from Jamia, from JNU, and many people have been called for interrogations and all. So the government is trying their best to ensure that they curtail dissenting voices. They are putting those voices of students who have spoken against this government's failed policies, and wanted to uphold the basic secular structure of this country. The government is just trying to target them at this moment. But overall, what is the student community as well, by large, we understand that how the government is trying to uh, polarize even the student community on the basis that there will be a huge digital divide, there will be a huge gap, Like it will be in the later days, if this continues, it will be students who will have like maybe whose family has money, they will be able to afford particular kind of education, and students those who don't have access to proper resources, economic facilities, they will not be able to acquire a certain type of education. And that is exactly where SFI DYFI has stood against such discriminatory policies. We have always demanded that the education should be, like even in JNU, we have always demanded that public education has to be safeguarded. Public education and education is not a commodity that you sell. Education is something, a right of each and every citizen of this country, every student, and that is exactly why education can't be sold at any particular market rate that the government at this moment is trying. And this has a direct link with the national education policy. Whoever students are listening to me, we should all go back and just go through the national education policy, which this government is trying to bring up and has finalized, that how discriminatory that document is. That document is directly talking about privatization of education, and that is going to majorly affect the women students in this country, the marginalized section of this country, who are already deprived of education in this last so many years, even after independence. And this document coming into place will moreover make sure that there is a formal boundary created between students who want to get education, who are demanding for right to education, and students who have a economic background and they can afford and they can get whatever education they want. So that will be a really contrasting situation, and we have to ensure that in the coming days, this is a huge challenge in front of the student community. We have to ensure that we don't let this happen, and what we demand in a clear fact is to safeguard public education, obviously, and that safeguard of public education can only happen when we demand that the government should ensure that the GDP, the budget that the government spends in education, should be increased. Because today exactly that is the crisis we are seeing in the health infrastructure. As being students, we, when we see the data, we see that how the GDP, the budget in with towards healthcare has not been invested much, because healthcare has been seen as an topic which is not to be discussed much. And that is exactly where the crisis today we are facing. We don't have proper hospitals, we don't have budget for our health professionals, who are just wanting, demanding basic necessities like masks, sanitizers, gloves, and PPE kits. So we can totally understand that the crisis all lies when the government has an apathy and looking towards education and healthcare. And that is exactly, as a student community, our demand should be that the budget in education has to be increased. The budget has to be increased. More of the reservation facilities have to be ensured, so that the marginalized sections of the students who are coming, the first generation learners, the minority students who are coming to universities, they get a framework, they get a basic minimum backbone when they first time come for education. They get the fellowships properly, they get a financial support, they get basic other necessities and support from educational institutions, so that they can come a long way in education and at the end of the day contribute to our society in very positive ways. And recently we have seen that the government is nowhere interested in a way to ensure that education is not being treated as a community. It's just in a spree where it is trying to make profit out of everything. So the coming days obviously will be challenging, but we have to see that how universities across states, it's not only about certain particular states, like states like Kerala and all are doing pretty like positively well, much well from other states. But we have to unitedly ensure that we raise a voice, we ensure that positive changes, positive growth and changes happen in our education sector. Our education sector makes a holistic change and better growth in the whole system, so that many of these students who are thinking of dropping out after this lockdown, many of the students, especially women students, might think that they will not be able to afford their educational fees, so they will might think of dropping out. They shouldn't think that, so that the government has to support that. Many of the students are also have taken loans. Many students who are already in private universities have taken loans. Their fathers have actually taken loans to pay off, and after this lockdown, if many of the reports are coming that these parents have lost their jobs and they don't know how to pay this loan. So the government has to intervene, and the government has to ensure that all these problems has to be solved, and the government has to ensure that they stand by the student community in this hour of crisis, because that is exactly needed, and that is exactly what the BJP and the BJP government obviously is not trying to do. And that is why we need to make pressure. We need to frame an alternative framework that we are continuously framing, and ensure, also create pressure and ensure that our demands in the coming days is fulfilled, that we are continuously raising up. So I have tried to be comprehensive in the issues, or else there are a lot of details also within these topics. But I have tried comprehensive to put what the student community at this moment is facing and our challenges that lies ahead. If anybody has any question that can be asked, I'll try to answer them in the next 5-10 minutes. Uh, if anybody has any question. There are some questions in the comment section that I'll take up, and if there are other questions. So, okay, I'm not seeing any more questions. So I'll just take some of the few questions, I'll compile them and try to answer. I think so. Agna Mukherjee had asked that like our stand on opposing online exams and all. So now the thing is, the point is that if India would have been, like I'm saying, a hypothetical situation and the current situation, just need to add. It's not about getting many students, like when I have been writing this actively on social media about the education and why no to online education, like online exams at this moment. Many students have been like that, no, everybody has a smartphone and it's very easy these days. So that is not exactly the reality. Like the ones who are having smartphones or access to Wi-Fi, like internet services and all, there are very minimum in the whole country. The average internet penetration rate of a country in 2019 December data. Obviously, I don't expect in the last 5 months it has increased in a huge percentage. It's 36%. So the number of household that gets internet in this country is 36%. So in that, we know that around 60, more than 60% students like households are left out. So how do we expect that those 60% households where students are there, they will be able to adapt to online education? Also with online education, the thing is, many students, many teachers have not been been taught about online learning education. Even if I'm accepting the fact that they have online education, like many of the times it happens that people who have even online laptops and like they have gadgets and all, they don't know every laptop doesn't support a particular app. Like many of my colleagues, they have phones and they are not able to join through certain apps because those phones don't support. So are we expecting in this whole lockdown, because the particular phone doesn't support a particular app, we will again go and buy a phone of minimum 7 to 8 thousand, spending 7 to 8 thousand during this lockdown? Or not only, again the problem is coming in case in my family I have a sister, so both of us then have to make, like our parents have to make an equal investment in buying gadgets to us. So this is not a practical solution to the situation. And in this whole pandemic, the thing is, many students don't know how to operate laptops in proper way. uh, and even if when we are doing live streamings like this, many times in certain areas where the network is very bad, people are not able to hear anything. Now the many questions, many people said that no, we can record lectures and upload them. Now the thing is, okay, we can record a lecture. It is some 2-3 GBs a lecture that gets uploaded. Now a student, in case that student even has a data pack, it's like 1 to 1.5 GB of data pack with proper speed that you get in a day. So if the student from morning only downloads one video, the student will have other reading materials that has to be downloaded, or the student has to attend class. Like, how will the student within that 1.5 GB do everything possible? So it's not feasible idea to just put on this thing, that online education. And these are not even trial classes. You are asking students to give exams in India at least. It can be debated, but in India at least, exams can make and break you, like a student. We have seen this kind of psychology from the educational institution, which is exactly not right. But every other educational institution doesn't think this way. So they think that if students are not able to give exams, they should put some support. But they wouldn't be, they would be told that you were not able to give online examination, so you didn't fare well in the examination. So that is clearly discriminatory, to ask a student suddenly out of nowhere in a lockdown which happened in March, that you give your exam within May, and in May, without even understanding, learning any subject, and to just pressurize them. They don't even know from where they will get infrastructure and everything. So this is clearly discriminatory in a form, and that is exactly I said that if science and technology is used in a positive way, we are not obviously opposing it. But at this moment, Indian classroom, physical classroom, can't be like just like Indian physical classrooms can't just be altered by just digital learning. Like digital learning in the coming days, when our classes open, it can be a form which adds on to our formal classrooms, but formal classrooms can't just get away, because we have seen heartbreaking pictures from certain states in normal times when this pandemic wasn't even there, that certain schools, they don't have their roof. Students are not even, a girl is so many girls in certain villages are not able to go to their schools because they don't have washrooms in the schools. So in last so many years, we have not even able to build up proper schools for students. So giving them infrastructures like digital learning, computers, and everyone knows that when you keep computers, there is a certain degree temperature you need in particular rooms. So then you will need maybe air cooling systems within those schools. To have these whole system is going to be really time taking, and it will not be done in quick 15, 20, or 1 month period, because we have not even started thinking as a country, as the government has not even started thinking actually to reform it. It has just said in its words, but there has been no steps. Did the government say that how many tablets, or maybe how many gadgets did they contribute to students who come from marginalized section, or who come from the sections where they don't have infrastructures? No, the government has said nothing. The government expects that everybody has infrastructure, so we are going for online education. But what has to be done in to ensure that is something that the government didn't think, and that is exactly why we oppose it. That it should be had been a well thought process, which is it's not. So that is it. Okay. So, Rashil is saying that as comrades, how can we help if some students are suffering and doesn't have money to buy tablets or laptops? Obviously, if you are in this particular state, you can contact our comrades from SFI, DYFI, whoever is there, and you can contribute to them. I know in Kerala, because I've been seeing pictures that comrades have been helping. But we can contact other state comrades, whoever is there, and we can help it in a way. But then like obviously it has to be systemic change. There has to be a structural change in the way how we see education system. So that has to be taken up by every government, and especially the central government at a policy level. Oh, okay. This Shubhajit has told a very important thing, I think so, and that I would like to highlight. Like it's just missed out in a way. Like that students are being pressured at this moment to pay that they have to pay their college fees and something, and that is also one of the very important demands, that rent, like many students who are staying in their PGs and all, rent waiver and the waiver of the academic fees has to be ensured at this time, because many students might not, like I was saying before also, that many students might have to drop out because they will not be able to pay their upcoming school or college fees, and that is exactly where our struggle also should be during the post COVID situation, that we ensure that the students are not pressurized by paying the huge amount, lofty amounts of admission fees that certain schools and colleges take, and the government has to bring out a notification ensuring that the students are not pressurized. That also is a very important thing. I think so. There are not much any more questions left. It's like Comrade Vipin is asking, how is the situation in Bengal? Like the situation of Bengal has been quite bad, devastating after Amphan, obviously, as you have seen pictures and all. Obviously, it has not been covered much by the national media, but obviously, people have been affected at the ground. Obviously, due to COVID, they were already facing issues. There was a lockdown. They lost their jobs, and overall, due to this cyclone, they have lost even their roof. It has been a devastating and difficult time for the people of Bengal at this moment. The cases are increasing, and we hope together we can fight against all the ills that is happening. Hopefully, we will be able to fight it out and come out in a very positive light. We just hope so. So somebody is saying that I should have spoken in Hindi and all. So maybe next time. So this was for a audience which can maybe understand both, like they can understand English also. So I think so. I will end my session here. Thank you so much. First of all, thank you to all the organizers of this page, Comrade. It's a very nice initiative which spreads, like I keep following the news. We get to know all about the work, very positive works that our comrades have been doing, not only in Kerala, not only in Bengal, but in all other states, our comrades have been doing. And it's a very good initiative where we get to know all the positive things that the youth community is doing, the workers, the peasants, the women, all associations have been doing. And keep up the positive and the good work. And we will be hoping that after this COVID situation is back, we all will be on the streets fighting for our rights in our own sectors and in our own spaces, in our own, whether it's the student community, whether it's the workers, wherever we are, in our own ways, unitedly giving solidarities to each other. So, red salute, comrades, and thank you very much for inviting me to share my views. Hopefully, some of my views will some might have like you might have related to whatever views I tried to convey at least. So, thank you so much once more.